Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Joyful Journeys. Today, I am joined by Taylor Thompson. Welcome, Taylor.
Hi, thank you for having me, Sammy.
Absolutely. So excited to talk to you today about not only your time as a participant, but also how you've been involved later on in life as well. So, why don't you go ahead and get us started? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your time with Girls on the Run as well.
Yeah, so I started Girls on the Run when I was in elementary school at Asheville Elementary in 2004. I was in fifth grade at the time, and my mom came home from work and she said, "Hey, I signed you up for this thing. I think you're gonna like it." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What is it?" She goes, "You have to run a 5K." I'm like, "Oh, I do like to run, but I don't know if I can run a 5K." She goes, "I think you'll be okay." And me, of course, as a kid, I had a lot of energy, as most 10-year-olds do. So it was nice that I had a way to go release some of that energy. I played soccer, and then I did Girls on the Run after school in fifth grade. So I did that for fifth grade, and then I went on to middle school, and they didn't have the program at my school yet. So I had to wait a year. And in seventh grade, they brought on what used to be Girls on Track to the middle school. So I did that in 2007 and 2008, and I've just kept running ever since.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool that you participated not only in elementary school, but in middle school as well. Of course, we would love for all of our participants to continue on through all the years and gain all of those special skills. And although it was similar, you were learning the same types of things. Can you talk a little bit about how you remember it also being different?
Yeah, so in elementary school, I remembered that we were just, we're young girls, we're young women, and there's a lot of things that happen when you're a lot younger. And honestly, there you don't know how to get out a lot of energy, there's a lot of things going on in your life, right? And Girls on the Run taught me how to control some of those things that were happening in my life. So if I needed to take a moment, I could go for a run. And that ended up leading to a lot of my family members coming on runs with me and kind of just sharing the passion, but also realizing that it was good for my mental and physical health at the same time. And then as we moved on to middle school, of course, we got all the crazy drama when you go to middle school. And it was nice to talk to other girls who were in my class that maybe were going through a lot of the same things that I was going through, and just finding that, hey, just be true to yourself, be who you want to be, and that's okay. People may not like you, and that's okay because you're true to yourself whenever you are.
Those are such important things to learn in elementary school and middle school because it affects
Yes.
probably most of the kids in that age range. And I mean, middle school is a tough time. When I think back on middle school, it was not my fondest years. Probably wouldn't want to go back and repeat those years. But when you're learning skills like that, not only is it helping you write that in there in middle school, but I'm sure you're able to take those skills into high school, into college, into your life now. Do you feel like that's true that you still use them today?
100%. And I think the base was built for me in elementary school because of Girls on the Run. And then we added to that in middle school. And then once I went to high school, I realized that I am my own person. I can do what I want to do. If I want to go do hard things or challenging things, I have the courage to pursue dreams and do things that I've been wanting since I was a little kid.
Yeah. Are there any of those kind of dreams or scary goals that you've set for yourself, either as a kid or now as an adult, that you have achieved?
Yeah, so after doing my first year of Girls on the Run, my coach at the time, she was training for the Boston Marathon. And I thought to myself, a marathon, that seems like a really long way to go from someone who's, of course, only doing a 5K, right? And I kind of kept that with me for a long time. I said, wow, I could probably do a half marathon. I don't know if I could truly do a marathon. And as I got older, I continued running races, mostly 5Ks and 10Ks. And then once we got a little bit older and I met my husband, we started training for a half marathon. And then the world got shut down and I had a baby. So now I have a 4 year old. But in that time when I was with her and I was postpartum, my husband looked at me and said, "Hey, why don't we just run a marathon?" And I'm like, "Oh, I told myself a long time ago in Girls on the Run that I wouldn't do one, but maybe I can do one now. Maybe there are new challenges and new things that I can do to, prove to myself that I can do the hard things again, right? I did a 5K when I was 10 years old. I can for sure do a marathon now at, 26 years old." So, not only did my husband decide that we should do a marathon, we decided that we would do the Dopey Challenge at Walt Disney World, which is 4 consecutive days of a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and then a full marathon.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
first full marathon was a part of Dopey, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I've loved it every year since then. I've actually done it every single year since 2022, and I'm signed up to do it again this year.
Oh my goodness.
So you can do hard things. You can do crazy things. You can do marathons. If you feel like you can't, I always try to ask myself, like, why can't I do these things, right? Why can't I go run a marathon? Why can't I do this? I try to turn it around and say, I can do this. I can go run a marathon.
I love that tactic. I don't know that I've ever used it for myself, but hearing you say it makes me want to go use it. Like the next time that I'm telling myself, maybe I can't do this, I'm going to tell myself, no, I can do this. And Taylor told me that I could do this.
Endurance as much as it is physical, it's a lot of mental too. You have to retrain your brain to say, hey, I can do these hard things. You have to kind of shove out any of those negative thoughts that you may have.
Yes. And that's another big lesson that a lot of the Girls on the Run participants often talk about is turning that negative self-talk around into positive self-talk. And I guess it's kind of the same thing, like telling yourself, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I'm not good enough to do it. And turning around saying, oh, I may not be good enough yet, but I can train and I can get myself there. And so
Exactly.
love that you use that. And
Yeah.
I believe you said you were also a soulmate, correct?
Yeah. So after I ran the Dopey Challenge for my first time in 2022, I learned about the SoleMate program and I didn't know it existed. And I thought, wow, this is such a full circle moment from starting off as a 5K runner with Girls on the Run. And now I can give back to the community that brought me to where I am now. So I signed up to be a soulmate and I ran the Springtime Surprise Challenge in 2023, which consisted of a 5K, 10K, and a 10 miler. Not as crazy as Dopey, but it kind of showed me that once again, I can do the hard things. And right after I signed up to be a soulmate, I actually became a certified running coach. And it all started because of Girls on the Run.
Wow. That is so, so neat. That, I mean, truly, like you kind of found out who you were because of it. Like it sounds like this is such a big part of your life now.
100%. And even so, like I completed that first soulmate journey and I've done more races since then. And I always wanted, since I started running more and running more races and marathons, of course, everyone has those majors on their bucket list: Chicago, London, Boston, right? And so I decided if I was going to do Chicago in any singular way, I had to do it for Girls the Run. So I'm signed up once again to be a soulmate through Girls on the Run of Chicago, and I'll be running the Chicago Marathon this October.
That is so exciting. Oh my goodness.
Thank
Have
you.
you ever
I'm
been
so
to
stoked. I
Chicago?
can't believe it. It feels like surreal.
Yeah, I bet. Have you ever been to Chicago?
I have not been to Chicago actually. So we're kind of going to make it a little bit of a family trip with me and my husband and my 4 year old. And we're going to go out there and do the race. Well, at least I will. They're going to be cheering. But they also like the run too, which is crazy.
Well, they're going to be running from spot to spot to catch you all over the city.
Exactly, exactly. They're gonna have to go fast.
That's right. Well, that is so neat. And it's so special to hear how Girls on the Run has kind of always had a place in your life.
Mhm.
Probably sometimes more prevalent than others, but how it's always kind of stuck around and you've always found your way back to it.
Yeah, and just in general, Girls on a Run definitely is the reason why I'm a runner now. It's the reason why I became a running coach. I had amazing coaches when I was in Girls on the Run. And so I just always think back, I'm like, you're never going to know who you're going to inspire next, right? They didn't know that they were probably inspiring me to run all of these crazy races later on in my life, but it's because of them I felt like I could.
Wow. Do you still keep in contact with any of your GOTR coaches?
Yeah, so I am friends with them on Facebook. Um, and so we reach out every once in a while. And one of my coaches recently had a big birthday milestone, and her daughter reached out to a bunch of people and asked if we could write a note or anything to like make her, happy birthday a little bit better. And I wrote out a note to her, and it was right after I had finished Dopey for the first time. And I was just thanking her for everything that she did for me and supporting me and being the person who I could look up to later on in life.
Oh, that is so special.
Yeah, it's Girls on the Run is a great place. And I'm so glad that my mom just decided to sign me up for it, and me not knowing what I was even getting myself into.
But sometimes that's the best. You had,
Exactly.
expectations. You went in with an open mind, I'm sure, and it turned out to be pretty
100%.
fun and brought you to where you are now.
Turns out I really like to run. So
Well, that is so awesome. I'm glad that it really had such a big impact on you and that you're continuing now that you're older and as a soulmate, now you have a chance to give back and help other young girls have that same experience that you did.
100%. And now I'm training my 4-year-old. She's asked us to start going on runs, and she'll be running her very first 5K in January at Walt Disney World, right after she turns 5. So, again, whatever you do, your kids see it, the people around you see it, and you never know who you're going to inspire. My 4-year-old's grown up being in the jogging stroller with me as we're going on runs. And now I get to instill what I learned in Girls on the Run and give that back to her as well.
Yeah, that is so, so great. Well, Taylor, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us and for telling us your very exciting and very special GOATR story. It was amazing to hear and amazing to get to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Sammy. Thank you for having me.
This episode of Joyful Journeys is brought to you by Girls on the Run of Northern Virginia.